A nation cannot reclaim what is lost through mere ambition or displays of power. Just as the body cannot move with grace if the spine is broken, no external conquest can be achieved if internal disorder is left unresolved. This is the principle of internal discipline before external action. To understand this fully, one must go beyond the surface of geopolitical strategy and military planning and look into the nature of focus, unity, and internal alignment. For India to reclaim any part of its rightful land, especially one as sensitive and disputed as POK, it must begin not at the border but in the mind, the heart, and the structure of the nation itself. Discipline is not a performance. It is not the sharp salute, the televised parade, or the dramatic speech. Discipline is quiet, unseen, cultivated in the repetition of daily focus. It is the soldier rising before dawn to sharpen his craft. It is the policymaker who chooses patience over provocation. It is the citizen who chooses to act with responsibility, not reaction. A nation is made of its people. And if its people are divided, distracted, and confused, then no leader, no matter how powerful, can lead them into victory. The reclaiming of POK is not only about a map or a political statement, it is about restoring a part of identity, but identity cannot be restored through emotional decisions. It must be approached with the same discipline that one brings to mastering a martial art. Before the first movement is executed, the body must be aligned, the breath must be steady, the mind must be free of noise, and so India must cultivate this state. Internally, it must become clear on its values. What is it fighting for? Is it revenge? Is it power? Or is it restoration, justice, and unity? The motivation behind the action determines the purity of the action. If a warrior swings his sword out of anger, he becomes blind. If he swings it with purpose, he becomes precise. This is not just metaphor. This is the foundation of strategic mastery. In the present age, wars are not only fought with weapons. They are fought with perception, information, and moral. If India seeks to reclaim POK without first resolving its internal fractures, political, societal, ideological, it risks becoming reactive rather than proactive. Internal discipline means more than military readiness. It means mental readiness. It means a clear vision at the national level so that every institution, every leader, every unit knows what the goal is and why it matters. Without this inner clarity, actions become fragmented, and fragmented actions lead to failure. Think of a bow drawn in tension. The string must be held in steady focus before the arrow is released. If the hand trembles, the arrow misses. If the mind hesitates, the energy is lost. But if the body, breath, and mind are unified, the shot flies true. India is that bow. POK is the arrow, and discipline is the archer's breath. Every step before action must be rehearsed in silence. This is how nature operates. The tree grows in silence before it bears fruit. The volcano rumbles deep within before it erupts. The tide gathers strength under the surface before it rises. In the same way, India must gather its strength not in announcements, but in preparation. Not in threats, but in alignment. Every ministry, every agency, every battalion must act as one organism, not as fragmented departments. That unity is not possible without discipline. Israel understands this principle. Its survival has always depended on internal clarity. Despite external threats, It thrives because its citizens, its institutions and its soldiers operate with an unspoken code of readiness. India's challenge is to emulate that, not through imitation, but through integration. Reclaiming POK will not succeed through sheer will. It will succeed through calibration. Just like a blade must be balanced at the handle before it is effective at the edge, so too must India balance its internal functions before projecting strength externally. This applies to political parties, to media narratives, to civilian unity. Internal confusion is the first enemy. It whispers hesitation into every decision. It sows doubt where there should be resolve. It distracts attention where there should be discipline. And no military plan can proceed successfully when the nation itself is uncertain. Therefore, internal discipline begins at every level, in the family where unity is taught, in the schools where history is understood not as pain but as purpose, in the defense establishments, where each operation is rehearsed not to intimidate, but to be ready when called. In the government, where decisions must be made not for applause, but for alignment. No one sees the hours a warrior spends meditating in silence, but it is those hours that make him deadly in combat. The same is true for nations. What happens before the operation, the preparation, the restraint, the silence. This is where victory is decided. And so, while the world asks when India will move, the wiser question is whether India is fully ready, not with weapons alone, but with will, with unity, with clarity. There must be a single breath behind the arrow, a single rhythm behind the march, a single vision behind the command. That is discipline. And when that is achieved, POK will not need to be wrested through struggle. It will be returned through inevitability. Because the one who is disciplined does not chase, he attracts, he does not force, he flows. And in that flowing, all that was fragmented is restored. All that was lost returns. Not by shouting, not by rushing, but by being so aligned, so clear, so steady, that no resistance can remain. That is how a nation reclaims its land. Not from the outside, from within. When two entities walk separate paths but arrive at the same mountain, it is not coincidence, it is convergence. India and Israel, though divided by geography and culture, share a bond not forged by treaties alone, but by the echo of shared trials and the fire of survival. Their connection is not merely strategic, it is spiritual in its essence. It is an alliance of spirit, not just of strategy. For strategy alone is mechanical. It calculates, it maneuvers, it reacts. But spirit breathes life into action. It gives it depth, conviction, and purpose. India and Israel have both faced existential threats since their inception. Both have fought wars not for expansion, but for identity. Not for pride, but for presence. They have learned that lasting strength is not in the size of an army, but in the depth of resolve. When a partnership is born from shared wounds and mutual understanding, it becomes something more than tactical. It becomes transformative. This is what binds these two nations, a bond not only of intelligence sharing and defense technology, but of shared memory and future purpose. Israel, a small nation surrounded by hostility, has mastered the art of survival. It innovates not for applause, but because it must. Its strategies are born in necessity, honed through experience, and executed with clarity. India, a vast nation with its own deep wounds and threats on many fronts, sees in Israel a reflection of its own trials and also a glimpse into its own possibilities. The spirit of this alliance is rooted in mutual learning. India provides scale, resilience, and patience. Israel brings precision, innovation, and swiftness. One is the mighty tree rooted deep, the other the hawk flying high. Together they form a balance, rooted in ground reality, yet elevated by vision. This bond has allowed both to grow in ways that transcend weapons and joint exercises. It has allowed them to shape their respective responses to threats with an understanding that not all battles are fought with missiles. Some are fought in the realm of perception, in the subtle domains of information warfare, cyber defense, and spiritual resilience. When India prepares to reclaim what it considers sacred, like POK, it does not act in isolation. It draws strength from this partnership that reminds it to move not in anger, but in awareness. The teachings that flow between these two nations are not in books or white papers alone. They are in the unspoken discipline of readiness, in the invisible hand that shapes a plan, not in months, but in years, in the willingness to train longer, to wade deeper, and to act only when every level is aligned. Israel's approach to survival has always been proactive. It does not wait to be attacked. It anticipates. It outthinks. It prepares, not because it seeks war, but because it cannot afford to lose peace. India understands this now more than ever. POK is not just about territory, it is about a deeper question. What are we willing to reclaim? Not just on the map, but in the soul of the nation. To answer this, a nation must not only act with intelligence, but with integrity, with alignment of purpose between its people and its leadership, with the will to act only when the spirit of unity surpasses the fear of consequences. This is where the alliance matters most, not in joint drills, but in joint discipline. Both nations understand that clarity of purpose is more dangerous to an enemy than any bomb. When people stand in unity, believing in the necessity and righteousness of their action, the path opens itself. The obstacles fall away, not by force, but by inevitability. In the practice of martial discipline, one learns to sense energy before it moves. One learns that an opponent who moves without purpose exhausts himself, but the one who moves with stillness, with rooted awareness, delivers one strike that ends 1,000. The same applies to nations. India and Israel in spirit prepare for that one decisive move, not to reaction, but to restraint. 2 years of coordination, of exchange, of silent planning. The world sees only the tip of the blade. It does not see the sharpening. This sharpening happens in the shared labs, in joint intelligence missions, in cyber protocols, and in long conversations about the sanctity of survival. This spiritual alliance also teaches humility. Neither nation seeks glory, both seek continuity. And that changes the nature of their planning. The move to reclaim POK is not an attempt at conquest. It is a return, but a return must be preceded by readiness, not just in arms, but in mind. And Israel reminds India of this daily, not through lectures, but through its example. In this alliance, India learns that strength is not measured in volume, but in velocity. That sometimes the smaller partner holds the sharper insight. That strategy without clarity is chaos. But strategy with shared spirit becomes unstoppable. When both nations align, not just in mission but in mindset, their actions become extensions of their belief. That belief is this: survival is not enough. Legacy matters. Dignity matters. And when a part of your nation has been taken, it is not revenge to reclaim it. It is responsibility. But responsibility must be approached with reverence. Not rushed, not dramatized, but carried with the weight of what is right. The joint spirit of India and Israel carries this weight, not as burden, but as vow. That they will prepare in silence, that they will act with clarity, that they will not shout in the marketplace, but whisper in the corridors of discipline. And when the moment comes, they will move with the precision of spirit aligned with strategy. The world may call it a secret plan, but those who see with inner eyes know it is not a secret. It is a certainty written not in ink but in intention. When alliances are born of spirit, they do not need to be loud. They simply move forward like a wave that cannot be stopped. Because they are not built on fear. They are built on truth. And truth, when backed by discipline, becomes destiny. Before a nation attempts to reclaim land, it must first reclaim its own mind. The battlefield is not just the soil under our feet. It begins in the space between thoughts, in the silence where decisions are born. If the mind is clouded, if the heart is scattered, then every action becomes noise and no victory can emerge from confusion. India's path toward reclaiming POK is not paved only with military hardware or tactical alliances. It is paved with the ability to overcome its own inner divisions. A divided nation cannot unite territory. A distracted leadership cannot give direction. A reactive population cannot form resilience. This is why the first step of any great endeavor is to conquer the self. It is far easier to mobilize tanks than to silence internal conflict. It is easier to rally for war than to discipline emotion. But until that inner victory is achieved, outer movements will always fall short. Every conflict in the world has two fronts. The visible one, where missiles are launched and borders contested, and the invisible one, where doubt is planted and clarity is lost. The second front is always the more decisive, because if the enemy can divide the house from within, no amount of outer defense will hold. That is why the true plan to reclaim POK must begin with a cleansing, not of land, but of intent, not of the enemy's territory, but of the nation's internal hesitation. The mind must become a single blade, sharp and unshaken. Unity must not be a slogan. It must be an experience lived in every home, every institution, every heartbeat of the country. India is a vast and complex civilization. Its strength is in its diversity, but that diversity can become its weakness if not anchored in a shared purpose. A nation must know why it stands, not just what it stands against. Without this purpose, even the most powerful move becomes fragile. But when purpose is clear, even small steps carry great weight. The conflict over PKK is not just military, it is psychological. Decades of misinformation, shifting narratives, and emotional provocation have turned the issue into a minefield of confusion. But a nation that sees clearly, that understands deeply, will not be provoked. It will respond, not react. It will reflect, not flinch. It will wait, not wonder. The enemy's greatest weapon is not the bullet, it is the ability to provoke anger, to trigger fear, to fracture unity. But when the mind is trained, when the collective breath of a nation is calm, then the enemy's strategy collapses. Because no weapon can penetrate stillness. The calm mind is not inactive. It is the most active force in the universe. From stillness comes precision. From inner discipline comes unstoppable power. That is why reclaiming POK must begin not with declarations, but with meditation. Not with marches, but with awareness. Every soldier that trains must know not only how to fight, but why he fights. Every citizen that supports this mission must do so not with blind rage, but with silent resolve. When a country is united in stillness, it becomes invincible. This inner battlefield is subtle. It cannot be shown on screens or measured in reports. But it determines everything. The nation that gossips, that argues, that divides itself over petty issues, such a nation weakens its spine. But the nation that speaks less and trains more, that complains less and contributes more, becomes like the mountain, immovable, unshakable, inevitable. The spirit of reclaiming is not born from hatred. It is born from clarity. India does not seek to take what is not hers. She seeks to return what was taken. But she must return not with vengeance in her eyes, but with light in her soul. This is the warrior's path. Not one of aggression, but of alignment. To walk this path, the distractions must be burnt away. Petty politics, sectarian divisions, short-term gains. All these are obstacles. They drain the collective energy of a nation and delay its destiny. But when these distractions are silenced, when the nation becomes like a single flame, focused, silent and unwavering, then every action carries power. The battlefield of the mind also includes how the nation sees itself. Is it a victim? Is it a bystander? Or is it a shaper of history? Identity is not just culture, it is direction. A people who believe they are broken will never heal the land. But a people who know they are whole will naturally reclaim what belongs to them. This inner shift must happen in the consciousness of the people. It must happen in the tone of the media, in the teachings of the schools, in the pulse of the cities and villages. It must happen in silence before it happens in action. Then, when the mind is clear, the time will come. And when it comes, there will be no confusion, no hesitation, no resistance that can withstand the wave. But if the mind is not clear, then even the best moment will be missed. And so the preparation continues, not only in secret bunkers, but in the quiet discipline of daily awareness. Every conversation that promotes unity is a step toward POK. The POK will soon take the wave of. Every moment of collective focus is a march toward that land. Every thought that overcomes division is a soldier in the mission. This is not abstract, this is the foundation. Because without inner victory, there is no outer success. That is why this is the true battlefield. And that is why those who understand will train not only the hand, but the breath. Not only the army, but the attention. Not only the strategy, but the stillness. The stillness for the one who owns his mind will one day own the land, and he will not need to shout. He will not need to argue. He will simply arrive, fully present, and the land will know its master has returned. Victory is not a moment, it is a state. It is not declared by banners or celebrated by crowds. It is realized in the harmony between cause and consequence. When a nation moves with harmony, even its smallest action causes waves across borders. But when it moves in disharmony, even its greatest efforts collapse under their own weight. In the pursuit of reclaiming POK, the true strength lies not only in preparation or partnerships, but in the timing. For timing is the invisible hand that makes the impossible inevitable. To act too early is to invite chaos. To act too late is to accept defeat. But to act in perfect alignment with time is to become one with the flow of destiny. Nature never hurries, yet everything is accomplished. The rivers do not rush, yet they carve mountains. The sun does not shout, yet it ends the night. So too must a nation learn this rhythm. To reclaim what is lost, it must wait without sleeping, move without shaking, and strike without warning, only when the moment has fully ripened. This ripening is not marked on calendars. It cannot be predicted by data alone. It must be sensed, just as the master senses when to step and when to stay still. The nation must sense the global winds, the internal pulse, the enemy's distraction, and the people's readiness. This sense is cultivated in silence. A nation that listens deeply to its people, to its history, to its future, will know when the silence breaks, and the time to speak with action has come. That is why timing is not external, it is internal. It is a synchronization of the national mind, where fear has dissolved, clarity has sharpened, and resolve has matured. At that moment, the strike is not violence, it is precision. It is not born from impatience, it is born from wisdom. And it is this wisdom that makes a plan successful. The secret plan to reclaim POK is not a single blueprint written in a room. It is a living force that breathes through the nation's preparation, its alliances, its discipline, and its awareness of timing. Israel has shown that striking at the right time changes everything. Whether it is a rescue mission or a strategic retaliation, the success always lies in waiting for the perfect alignment. Not when the world is watching, but when the opponent is distracted. Not when the people are emotional, but when they are resolved. This lesson is not taught, it is felt. And India, through deep inner listening, is preparing for that moment. The timing will not be announced, it will reveal itself through signs, through the weakening of the opponent's will, through the shifting of global alliances, through the silent cry of those on the other side waiting to return to their homeland. The land itself will call, and the call will be unmistakable. But to hear that call, the ears must not be filled with noise. A nation that is addicted to reaction will never hear it. Only one that is steeped in patience will know when to move like the tiger. Silent, swift, and unstoppable. That is why timing is sacred. It is not controlled by generals or governments alone. It is tuned through the collective vibration of the people. The people must be still, not in inactivity, but in awareness. They must not push leaders into premature action, nor should they delay the readiness of the soul. They must become one body, one mind, one spirit. And when that happens, the timing will arrive, not as a decision, but as a knowing. A great mistake in history has always been to act for applause. But applause fades, what lasts is action born from alignment. Timing, therefore, is not a tool, it is a teacher. It teaches humility, because one cannot force it. It teaches patience, because one must wait for it. It teaches trust, because when it comes, the move must be made without fear. And so, India's path toward reclaiming POK is not a countdown, it is a climb. Every step is upward. Every breath must be intentional. The forces that try to provoke a premature move are distractions. They whisper now, 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 not from wisdom, but from fear. But fear cannot lead. It must be dissolved. Only then can timing become visible. This is why silence is essential, not just in speech, but in strategy. When a nation moves quietly, its enemies cannot see the pattern. When it speaks less, the truth becomes more powerful. When it watches more than it acts, it becomes a shadow that turns into a storm at the right moment. The enemy expects noise, but the true strike will come in silence, like a monk who walks slowly until the moment he leaps, like the sword that is never drawn until the one perfect cut is required. And then, when that moment comes, it will not be revenge, it will be return, it will not be invasion, it will be restoration. The people of POK will not see conquerors, they will see those who never forgot them. And the world will not see aggression, it will see inevitability. Because when timing is perfect, resistance melts. The move is not fought, it is accepted. Because it comes with such alignment, such clarity, that even the enemy recognizes its futility. This is the power of timing, not just to win, but to win without war. To arrive not with destruction, but with truth. To take back what was lost not by force, but by being ready, beyond question. Therefore, India must keep listening. Listening to the land, listening to the world, listening to the rhythm of its own breath. For the moment will come, and when it does, there will be no turning back. The arrow will leave the bow, and the target will no longer be distant. It will be destiny. Timing is not passive, it is active silence. It is the fire that does not flicker until the wind has shifted. And when that wind shifts, nothing can stop the flame. Then the plan will unfold not as a surprise, but as a truth that was always meant to be. Because the one who waits in stillness moves with certainty, and the one who moves with certainty reclaims not only the land, but the soul of a nation.